It's hard to measure up, both literally and in terms of mythology, to Andre the Giant. Every looming Goliath that has followed him gets pushed towards Andre's massive footprints in order to illuminate the presumed ill fit. For Paul White, his introduction to professional wrestling cast him as Andre's second coming through a genetic link, meaning that comparisons were invited from the beginning. That wasn't exactly fair, as for a quarter century since, the man we know best as the Big Show is always sized up to the eighth wonder of the world. But in his own right, Big Show carved out a giant-sized shadow all of his own, in some ways even managing to overachieve. I'm Jack from Cultaholic.com, and this is the captivating career of the Big Show. White was discovered by, of all people, former child actor Danny Bonaducci. He introduced him to his friend, Hulk Hogan. Not long after, White began training under the eye of pretty boy Larry Sharp in New Jersey, and in December 1994, he wrestled his first match, losing to a local champion named Frank Finnegan via countout. This turned out to be White's lone professional match before debuting on the national stage, as he not long after signed with World Championship Wrestling. Size cannot be taught, but giants possessing White's awing athleticism are even rarer, and when he debuted, it was going to be at the top. Minimally dubbed The Giant, White was immediately positioned across from Hulk Hogan. His role was that he was the previously unheard of son of the late Andre the Giant, and would now follow in his father's footsteps as a challenger to world champion Hogan. He associated with Kevin Sullivan and the Dungeon of Doom, the largest monster in a collection of heavyweight brutes. At the 95 Halloween Havoc, Giant lost a very silly monster truck sumo match to Hogan earlier in the night, and survived an apparent deadly fall to face Hulk for the belt in the main event. Yes, he fell off a building and then still wrestled in the main event later on that. They were pushing him quite strong, okay? He won via DQ after Hogan's manager Jimmy Hart double-crossed the champ. Due to a clause Hart put into the contract, the belt could change via a DQ, and Giant was now apparently the new title holder, though he would be subsequently stripped of the gold. After failing to win the 60-man battle royal known as World War III for the vacant title, Giant set upon destroying all comers, sometimes in handicap bouts. He even twice defeated world champion Randy Savage by DQ and turned back the challenge of super duper heavyweight Loch Ness at Uncensored 96. He did lose to Hogan in a cage match at Super Brawl, but was otherwise seemingly unstoppable, armed with an especially potent diving version of the chokeslam. A short-lived alliance with now champion Ric Flair came to a very abrupt end on April 22nd, 96. Giant chokeslammed Flair to win the WCW World Heavyweight title again in just his 39th professional match. A fighting champion this time, Giant took on the top stars of WCW, defeating Sting and Lex Luger in consecutive pay-per-view bouts at Slamboree and the Great American Bash 96. When the New World Order established their ranks, leader Hollywood Hulk Hogan crossed paths with the Giant again, this time pinning him at Hog Wild after the Outsiders and a well-timed belt shot slayed the Beast. But instead of gunning for Hogan in a rematch, 3 weeks later, for whatever reason, Giant became the fourth active wrestler to join the NWO, double-crossing his now former Dungeon of Doom allies in a swerve conclusion to an episode of Monday Nitro. That November, the black and white-clad Giant won the World War III Battle Royal, which he believed entitled him to a championship match against his own boss, Hollywood Hogan. His request for a title match, coupled with his ineffective interference in Hogan's match with Roddy Piper at Starrcade the previous night, led to Giant being excommunicated from the New World Order. He did get his title match with Hogan at the first ever NWO Sold Out, but that match ended in indecision. After that, he and Lex Luger chased the Outsiders for their tag team gold, and the two even faced Hogan and Dennis Rodman in the high-profile main event of Bash at the Beach 97. Pay-per-view wins followed over NWO members Randy Savage and Scott Norton, but his next one-on-one pay-per-view clash almost ended tragically. While wrestling Kevin Nash at the 98 Sold Out, Nash prematurely dropped Giant on his head out of the Jackknife Powerbomb, badly injuring his neck neck, though it could in fairness have been much worse. Giant missed 6 weeks of action before returning to resume his rivalry with the Evil faction. He and Roddy Piper lost a baseball bat on a pole match to Nash and Hogan at Spring Stampede, and not too long after that, Giant began to show a sudden allegiance once more to the black and white. Now occasionally smoking a cigarette as part of his bad guy persona, Giant teamed with a confused Sting to become WCW World Tag Team Champions, defeating a fragmented Outsiders at Slamboree. When their partnership wasn't going to work, Sting defeated Giant in a singles match at the Great American Bash to claim ownership of both belts. Giant went on to defeat NFL legend Kevin Green at Bash at the Beach, but the bloom was coming off his rose at this point. Numerous losses to world champion Goldberg followed, and as 1998 ground down, Giant was looking to make tracks north, where a territory that loved its big men awaited. The Big Show, as he would then become known, debuted at WWF's St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Memphis, Tennessee, billowing through the ring during Vince McMahon's cage match against Stone Cold Steve Austin in order to attack the Rattlesnake. Unfortunately, Big Show's aggressive display led directly to Austin winning. As the corporate Leviathan, Show was put to use against Austin and also Mick Foley, losing via DQ to the latter at WrestleMania 15, a match where the winner got to officiate the main event. McMahon badmouthed Show for his costly loss, and the behemoth slugged his boss, making for a very quick exit from the corporation. As you'll come to see, changes of heel and face alignment would be a bit of a staple of Paul White's career. After a brief spell as a member of the short-lived Union, Show began shading back towards the heel side, and in the summer aligned with The Undertaker. Together they defeated Kane and X-Pac for the tag team titles at SummerSlam, but Undertaker's need for surgery killed that team off pretty quickly. Now a babyface again, it's still 999, remember, he's turned quite a few times already, Show was revealed to be dealing with his father's terminal battle with cancer, something Big Boss Man callously mocked and exploited. In a arguably slightly tasteless storyline, casket surfing ensued, as it often does in these situations, but Show put his grief behind him long enough to win the WWE title at Survivor Series, filling in for the mowed-down Steve Austin to pin Triple H in a triple threat match. At the start of 2000, Show lost the belt back to Triple H. A heel turn followed around the time of the Royal Rumble match, which Show appeared to unjustly lose to The Rock in controversial fashion. And to this day, I will maintain that The Rock's feet hit first. What an absolute screwjob. Show managed to get into the WrestleMania 2000 main event anyway, but was bounced from the four-way title bout in just a few minutes. The next few months for Show were marked with a run as a comedic impersonator, the Showster being the absolute highlight, followed by another heel turn where he and Shane McMahon allied after having just feuded with each other. But due to weight gain and a rumored poor attitude, Show was written out of the storylines and sent to Ohio Valley Wrestling. He returned in early 2001, going wild in the Royal Rumble match as a surprise entrant before being eliminated by The Rock. Show ended up winning the Hardcore title at No Way Out and presided within that scene for a little while before getting pinned in a crazy triple threat match for the belt at WrestleMania X7 against Kane and Raven. For much of the remainder of that year, Show seemed to be more of a peripheral character, an attraction that can be used in big spots, but just that, a simple attraction. He did team as part of the WWE faction in the Be-All End-All match at Survivor Series, in which the Alliance were finally vanquished, although he was eliminated first. The year 2002 didn't really begin too much better, as his brief stay in that year's Royal Rumble match led to a very interesting WrestleMania reward, hanging out with kids at WWE New York instead of with the rest of the crew in Toronto's Skydome. This low point led to another heel turn where he joined WWE's fledgling reboot of the NWO and aided Ric Flair in his issue with Steve Austin. The pair lost to Austin in a handicap match at Judgment Day 2002, and aside from a feud with Booker T that summer, Big Show did again seem to be dreadfully set adrift. But his fortunes changed for the better when he moved over to SmackDown via a trade that fall. After mauling Undertaker in an attack, Show scored a monumental upset when he pinned the unbeaten Brock Lesnar for the WWE title at Survivor Series, with admittedly a bit of an assist from a two-timing Paul Heyman. He only held the belt for a month, but Show was at least jump-started a little bit by the victory. Feuds in 2003 followed with the likes of The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, and Brock Lesnar, including that ring-breaking superplex we all know and love. He even pinned Mr. America to drive Hogan out of WWE for 2 years, and at No Mercy that October, he won the United States title, defeating Eddie Guerrero. After losing the belt to rising star John Cena at WrestleMania 20, Show violently attacked SmackDown GM Kurt Angle by throwing him off a backstage ledge. This led to Show being suspended, an excuse for him to go and have legitimate knee surgery. Upon returning that September, Show turned face by going after Kurt Angle, a storyline that resulted in Show having his head shaved after being tranquilized. 2004 was a bit of a confusing year for certain storylines on the Blue brand. But Show did get revenge on Angle and his cronies Luther Reigns and Mark Jindrak, and in early 2005, he challenged for JBL's WWE title in a barbed wire cage match, which he lost. Then he lost to sumo star Akebono in a well, a sumo match at WrestleMania 21. Show moved back to Raw in the summer of 2005, where he teamed with Kane to win the tag team titles that November from Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. Their reign lasted 5 months before they lost to the Spirit Squad after Kane went berserk on Show during the match. Show then moved over to the ECW brand, where yet another assist from a scheming Paul Heyman helped him defeat Rob Van Dam to win the ECW Championship. He alternated between helping the McMahons in their battle with DX and warding off challengers to his title before being defeated by Bobby Lashley inside the Extreme Elimination Chamber at the rather ill-fated December to Dismember pay-per-view. Shortly afterwards, Show's contract expired and he took a year away from WWE. In April 2007, Show wrestled Hulk Hogan in a special match at Memphis's Mid-South Coliseum, his only wrestling match for that year. He returned to WWE in February 2008, immediately entering into a WrestleMania feud with boxing star Floyd Mayweather. The size difference didn't matter as Mayweather KO'd Show at WrestleMania 24 with an assist from some brass knuckles. Show wandered through ECW and SmackDown throughout that summer, ending up back in a feud with The Undertaker. It was here that he debuted the WMD, his especially potent knockout punch that he used to great effect at No Mercy, defeating Undertaker in a little bit of a sleeper hit. Show looked to wrestle Edge for the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania 25, but John Cena schemed his way into the match after revealing that Show and Edge's wife Vicky Guerrero had been having a secret affair. This led to Cena pinning Show in the triple threat match to win the belt, but Show gained revenge by nearly killing Cena at Backlash. Though Cena did end up winning the feud eventually, Show benefited from a new partnership with Chris Jericho. Together as unified tag team champions, Show felt like a serious, unyielding monster for the first time in ages. They lost the belt to D-Generation X at the TLC pay-per-view at the end of 2009, and Show's attempt to rekindle that dynamic alongside The Miz proved a little bit short-lived. After decking an annoying Miz to kill that partnership, Show moved back to SmackDown, where his list of opponents included World Champion Jack Swagger and CM Punk's Straight Edge Society. Against the latter, Show defeated Punk, Luke Gallows, and Joey Mercury in a handicap match at the 2010 SummerSlam, and later dropped Punk at Night of Champions. In 2011, a reunion of sorts with Kane brought the Behemoths together again against the Core, whom they defeated in an 8-man tag at WrestleMania 27 alongside Kofi Kingston and Santino Marella. They even reigned once more as tag team champions that spring, defeating Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater, but then losing the belts to Michael McGillicuddy and David Otunga the following month. At Money in the Bank, a post-match attack by Mark Henry put Show out for several months. When Show returned, he targeted now world champion Henry, a feud that included an astonishing top rope elbow from Show and Show winning the belt at TLC. That was tempered, however, when Daniel Bryan cashed in on a motionless Show after the match. In the run-up to WrestleMania 28, Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes taunted Show's shortcomings on the big stage, which Show amended by WMDing Rhodes en route to winning the gold. After dropping the belt back to Cody, Show was fired by John Laurinaitis after a series of confrontations. But he regained his job, however, by helping Laurinaitis beat John Cena at May's Over the Limit. Show's issue with Cena continued through the summer and got him back into the WWE title picture, but he fell short in a title match at SummerSlam, getting pinned by CM Punk. He did, however, venture into the World Heavyweight title scene where he defeated Sheamus for the gold at Hell in a Cell, his 6th and, let's face it, probably final world title. Although in this day and age, you never know. He went on to lose the belt to Alberto Del Rio in early 2013, but not before he busted out that comically large chair on Sheamus at TLC in December. After brief feuds with The Shield and Randy Orton, Show sat out for much of the summer before returning as an anti-authority babyface. His outspokenness had consequences, as Show was forced to attack his fellow babyfaces at Triple H and Stephanie McMahon's beck and call, lest he lose his job. But Show had enough and KO'd Triple H to stand on his own. He failed in a title bid against authority centerpiece Randy Orton at Survivor Series, and then went on to be beaten senseless by Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. His attempt to win the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal fell short when Cesaro impressively slammed him over the top rope in the finish. At the 2014 Survivor Series, with his job at stake in the 5-on-5 finale, Show double-crossed John Cena in an act of self-preservation, now pledging allegiance to the authority. After defeating Eric Rowan in the critically acclaimed Stairs, and more goddamn Stairs match at TLC and Stairs, Show went on to somehow get booed less than Roman Reigns in the 2015 Royal Rumble match, and he later won the 2nd annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. A feud with Reigns on the authority's behalf followed, including a pretty good last man standing match at Extreme Rules, as did a fairly one-sided loss to Lesnar at a Madison Square Garden special that October. And from 2016 onwards, Show has been something of a part-time attraction, attention. Understandable, as he's a very immense athlete going deeper into his 40s. Appearances in the 2016 and 2017 Royal Rumble matches squared him off with new monster Braun Strowman, giving a bit of rub to the monster among men, including a redux of that old ring-breaking spot. Since then, Show's only pay-per-view match had him lose to Big Cass at the 2017 SummerSlam. This was followed by a pretty long period of inactivity, following a cage match loss to Strowman a few weeks later in order to go and have hip surgery. Then, Show resurfaced in 2018 as an ally of Cesaro and Sheamus, The Bar, which, in fairness, was relatively short-lived. Now 47 years old and medically cleared from more surgeries, Big Show may once more grace the ring. His legacy is an interesting one, and you could say that too many comedic skits and needless losses may have shed a bit of his overpowering aura. On the other hand, he is the only man to have won the unique Grand Slam of the WWE, World Heavyweight, WCW, and ECW titles. And he was consistently used for over 20 years, so how can you really criticize that? Comparisons may unfairly fail Paul White, but his endurance as a reliable giant, one who saw heights that most overbeasts of his supposed ilk never came close to, earn him unquestioned legend status. For a weighty individual like the Big Show, the positives far outweigh the negatives. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.